Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. It's a big day for me here at Tech Blog Writer Podcast Towers because episodes 1 to 50 were served to you thanks to my blue snowball microphone, which is a nice, cheap and cheerful way to get me up and running. But then episodes 50 to 730 were all delivered to you by the Blue Yeti microphone. But then disaster struck. The Blue Yeti encountered a few problems, and the last 50 episodes have not been great and required extra tweaking from me just to get a passable sound. So I wrote to Santa and asked him to bring me something to upgrade the experience for my listeners in 2019. And thankfully, he listened. I'm now talking to you on the Heil PR40 microphone, which is run through the Focusrite Scarlett mixer, which some say is the holy grail of podcast equipment. But, of course, I've got to learn how to use it all with all these buttons and dials at my disposal. So I hope you approve if it does sound different, and you can also put up with me experimenting over the next few weeks. But, of course, you don't want to listen to my filthy geek microphone speak, do you? You come here for guests talking about how they're transforming their industry through technology. And by 2022, Gartner's latest report predicts that 60% of large and global enterprises and 90% of mid-size enterprises will implement passwordless methods in more than 50% of use cases. And also, in its December 2018 market guide for user authentication, Gartner also included a company called Secret Double Octopus as a representative vendor in the user authentication category. And for very good reason too, because they are pioneering the password workplace with their technology. And two things stood out from this report for me. One, they're killing the password. And two, Secret Double Octopus. What a name. I mean, that was enough for me to ask them on the show alone. So yesterday I took you to Moscow, but today I want to ask you to buckle up once again and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Israel so we can speak with Amit Rahav from Secret Double Octopus. So a massive welcome to the show, Amit. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Good morning, Neil. My name is Amit Rahav. I am Vice President of Marketing and Customer Success with software company, cybersecurity company, Secret Double Octopus. And we are in the business of freeing companies and freeing users from all the pains associated with having to use passwords.
I've spoken to nearly 750 business leaders on this show, and I think I can safely say that Secret Double Octopus gets the award for the most original name. But I've got to ask, what's the story behind your name and indeed the company?
Well, the story of the name, that's interesting. I've been through a few startups, and naming is always an interesting aspect. This particular name started as a code name for a research done in academia. The company roots were in the University of Beersheba in the south of Israel, specializing in cybersecurity. And it was a code name that was given to the idea that when two sides want to communicate, let's say you want your phone to talk to your company's server, very securely, what they're going to do is they're going to be like two octopi that they're just connecting in multiple arms to each other, using each connection to sort of like deliver parts of a key, build together in this way a very strong, very secure communication. So it's a very technical concept, and it was sort of an internal code name. And as we started to meet with customers and partners, the name just stuck. In parallel, we're trying to think about this is a very serious subject. It's a mission critical cybersecurity infrastructure, but people just loved it. And that gave me the idea. Sometimes you do just the opposite of the best practice in marketing, and that also actually comes up with a great idea, because the name is long, it's different, but it kind of works, and that's it. That's Secret Double Octopus.
So what is Secret Double Octopus? What problems do you solve? And apart from your name, what makes you unique from other solutions out there?
Yeah, authentication is the first thing we do whenever we access any computer system, whether it's an antiquated mainframe system to a brand new mobile application. The first experience we get is authentication. And, it really affects at the same time the end users and the cybersecurity and hackers, And passwords really, the only people of these three that really love password is the hackers. Right? 81% of cyber attacks, according to a survey that was held by Verizon, 81% of the hacking actually relies on weak or stolen passwords. So what is but still, that's sort of the default for any kind of authentication. And what we're doing is coming back to users and we're saying, hey guys, you got to make passwords longer. You're going to have to change them more frequently. Oh, and don't write them down anywhere. Oh, make sure you don't use your Facebook password. And oh, by the way, this idea called phishing, you got to learn all about it and become experts in it. So this is really an expectation that we're putting on the end users in order to really guarantee the security of the entire company. And it takes just one user to make a mistake to bring down the security of the whole company. So it really doesn't really make sense, the situation. So this is the first time where you're actually able to take a workplace and guarantee access that is a better user experience, but it's also more secure. So it makes everybody happy in this combination.
By 2022, Gartner's latest report has predicted that 60% of large and global enterprises and 90% of mid-size enterprises will implement passwordless methods in more than 50% of use cases. And also, in its December 2018 market guide for user authentication, Gartner included Secret Double Octopus as a representative vendor in the user authentication category, which has got to make you guys feel incredibly proud. But can you tell me more about how you guys are pioneering the passwordless workplace?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's brilliant working with the experts at Gartner in sort of like building our strategy in this direction. And you think that the problem is in making this go away is the fact that companies are not just building their infrastructure today. They have a lot of existing applications and infrastructure that make the assumption that the first thing you do is you enter a password. And so we're building all the new stuff, we're moving to the cloud or to the mobile. We're building off of that same idea. We're thinking, okay, how can we take that password and extend it now to the cloud? And we do things that are called like federation or single sign-on, things like that, all based on the idea that we have this thing that's really an annoyance for the user, but we just have to extend it to everything else that we're doing. So I think what we're trying to do really is not to expect the company workplace to change, but actually to adapt, to have a solution that works with whatever they currently have at whatever scale the enterprise is, to be able to meet that and actually replace any case that there is a need for a password. Also in legacy applications, things that are existing, that are mission critical, that are not going to go away. And that I think, because there's a lot you could do if you just make your life easy and say, okay, you know what, we're going to have no passwords in the future stuff when we're building elements, but actually to come to a workplace, for me as an employee in a company, when I'm brought into a situation when I'm no longer conscious of a password that I've created, that means that now I need to have access to everything. It's enough that I have a couple of applications in the back that are critical and they still expect me to know a password. I'm still back in square one. So, that's what we're building with some very advanced design partner, very forward-thinking companies. We've been doing this now for a couple of years, actually. We launched the product in the beginning of 2017. And a year before that, we developed all the infrastructure and the design. And I think at this point, we're really at the situation where we're seeing those early adopters already shifting the enterprise to a passwordless situation. And I think that's really what the end users would love also. We've done surveys of end users and they say, hey, I'm used to Face ID, I'm used to Touch ID. Wouldn't it be great if I could do that for work as well? I trust it, I know that experience. I just want to bring that ease of use to the workplace. I don't care that I happen to use some old applications of some infrastructure. So that's what we do.
For anyone listening, wherever they work, wherever they are in the world, they will probably have access to a number of applications, and remembering all of those login details is an infamously huge challenge. So I'm curious, are there any trends when it comes to the kind of challenges that your clients are facing and coming to you and asking for your help with?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of changes. It used to be that the workplace was this closed perimeter. And there would be this very strong distinction between what goes on inside the company network and the outside world. And also it was very much controlled by IT if you go back to the way things used to be. But it's totally different today. I mean, today, software as a service and cloud, and the lines of business are just bringing in services that they need, whether it's cloud, whether it's mobile. Everything is much more agile, much more nimble, and that's how we want it to be. We want the business to be able to benefit from all the technology. It does create a security problem because, hey, we've taken all this information that used to be in mainframe or in legacy info, and now we uploaded it into cloud-based CRM, and everybody just got to define their own password, which about half of the people are using their Facebook password for that situation. So all of a sudden, IT is like, how do we bring this all under control, but still allow the agility and the flexibility? So it's first of all, it's like cloud is really changing what used to be sort of a static situation. The other thing is mobility. So the more and more, mobile workforce is a given. So mobile access, the idea that we can expect people just to sit on a desktop in the office, and that's it. And when they get out of there to sit in a coffee shop or work from home, that's not a work environment. Obviously, that is going away in more and more types of companies. And you and I probably having this conversation from home, we take it for granted. But for large companies, that's also an effect. So that's another side, that the mobility is another side that's sort of like breaking this paradigm of a perimeter of a company. And then the sophistication of cyber attackers is really on a whole new level. The computing power that they have, their way that they are able to con users. At the end of the day, it's the human factor that is behind most of the successes that these guys have. And I think the password is one point where we really, as companies, are actually relying on end users, delegating this responsibility of cybersecurity to each and every employee in a company, and that makes it really a ripe opportunity for social engineering, and that's not going to go away as long as much as technology is running forward. The human being, in terms of their abilities, in terms of their desire to trust people, in terms of their inability to remember long and random password, we have to take human beings as a given factor, not have some kind of expectation that, we just need to give them another training and everything will be fine. They'll never hit another phishing page. That's not the case. I think we have to take the human element into consideration and not just ignore it.
What are the biggest challenges and equally opportunities for Secret Double Octopus in 2019?
It's been a breakthrough year for us. I mean, we launched the product in 2017, and we've had the fortune to work in 2018 with some of the most advanced companies in the world, and to really look at things, not just the initial kind of concept, but also scalability and user experience, and just create a very mature solution. And we really see this as a year of a lot of growth, both for us, and also for this category of this next generation authentication. You mentioned the Gartner report. There was an identity conference that Gartner held, identity management, in Vegas a month ago, and that was really one of the biggest themes there, was the shift to a passwordless experience. And they think that people that are IT or security professionals, they sort of look at it and say, okay, that's like a holy grail. Of course, we'd like to get rid of password, but nothing's ever been able to practically do it. It's like, now it's more about, that actually the capability is there, whether from us, from a competitor. How do we actually, what's the best way to go about it? Like who should go first? How to make sure this is secure? How to make sure the user experience is right where we want it? So, that I think is sort of like it's exciting to see a product over the 3 years that we've been running with this startup come from academic idea into really product market fit. There's a problem, a real problem needs a solution, into building technology, into scale, enterprise needs, and now actually to grow in the market. And we're looking forward to that in 2019.
One of the things that really fascinates me is how the adult film industry and the military industry are largely responsible for driving technology and driving innovation. So when I read that your technology is based on secret sharing algorithms that were originally developed to protect nuclear launch codes, I must admit you captured my attention immediately. But the app also initiates a multi-layered authentication process for users in order to verify or reject the login attempt, payment or transaction. So can you expand a little on that story and how it actually paved the way for what you guys are doing?
Sure. If we're going to rely on this new generation of authentication, we better make sure that we're introducing something that's more secure, that we're not taking security backwards. And one of the leading vendors for many years in this space was RSA. In 2011, they were affected by a breach. Millions of their tokens were breached, and the market knows that many of RSA customers were breached as a result of that attack. So we want to make sure that the technology is actually more secure than we had in the past. Now, secret sharing is an algorithm presented back in 1979. It has been used for this sort of like situation, like in the Cold War movies, where the two generals have to turn a key to launch a nuclear missile. In reality, let's say in cryptography equivalent, think about have you ever seen the U.S. president, for example? He was always accompanied by a Marine that's carrying the nuclear football. Yes. In that football is the nuclear biscuit. That biscuit is actually a code. It's a number. And the Secretary of Defense carries another code like that, another biscuit. And each one of them is 100% useless mathematically through the benefit of secret sharing. Only when you bring those two together, you can actually calculate and know a valid authentication code that is an approval for the system that this is really going on. So this is basically an algorithm that allows you to break apart an authentication code. Once you broke it apart, those pieces are unbreakable, even if you bring in like unlimited computing power. It's not just a piece of the key. It's completely useless. And you know that 3 presidents already have lost their nuclear biscuit. Yeah, Clinton just didn't know where it was for about 6 months. And when Reagan was shot, they threw his jacket in the corner of the hospital, and there went the nuclear biscuit as well. So thankfully, the world was safe. Maybe the U.S. was unable to respond in those couple of months with Clinton, but the world was. Other than that, the world was safe through the secrecy of secret sharing. So the idea was, and when founders got together and looked at it and said, how can we actually bring this military-grade technology into? I want to talk to a server, or I want to send some critical information, and we all know that. Encryption, we know the importance of end-to-end encryption. We often hear about it, but we also know that there's a technology called quantum computing, which is sort of like a next generation of computers that will make obsolete most of the current cryptography that we have. So that's one of the advantages of secret sharing, is that it's resilient to such computing power. So it's really something that's beyond just, I have an encryption key and it's too long for you to break it. But tomorrow maybe won't be too long for you to break it. So this actually makes that arms race between computing power and keys obsolete. But it's also, it's more about in the context of today and the techniques that the hackers use today. The idea is that they have a system that has no keys in it. Unlike the RSA event, the similar event that happened in the past, in our system, there's nothing you can steal that will actually allow me to steal your identity. There's no key that represents your identity. It's always changing. There's always temporary codes being shipped around. So there's nowhere where I can go and I can steal a database of keys and now I have your identity, or I can do sort of eavesdropping, man in the middle, steal your identity in this way. That gives us this high level of assurance of the user authentication.
We are at that time of year where everyone is making predictions for 2019 and staring into a crystal ball. But can I ask for your predictions for this passwordless future? And also, of course, the role that Secret Double Octopus is going to be playing in that?
Well, one prediction is actually almost a guarantee, and the people are going to come back from the holiday season and they're going to forget all their passwords at work. And that is a known trend in help desks in many companies that after the beginning of the year, they get loaded with calls. Oh, what was my password? I just got back from the holidays. So that's a guaranteed prediction. But beyond that, I think we see it from ourselves, from others, from what people like Gartner are saying, that it's this idea of passwordless security is making a shift into mainstream IT. It's sort of so we're going to see deployments. We're going to see mid-sized companies that are forward-thinking are going to shift the entire company. We're going to see larger companies just decide, okay, maybe we start with this unit. Maybe we're going to shift the senior management to passwordless. Maybe we're going to shift the IT guys into passwordless as a sort of the early adopters internally. And I think that's going to be key. And I think we're going to see closer and closer integration between what happens on cloud and what happens on premise. Both of them are going to continue to be critical. It's not that we can say, oh, the future is just cloud, forget about the on-premise stuff, or the other way around. But actually, people are going to have more holistic strategies and more holistic views of the user experience and the security strategy for identity across both with equal weight. And I think we're going to continue to see this sort of arms race between hackers and security experts. And I think it's frustrating for security experts because they might be as smart and knowledgeable as the hacker, but they are also playing with a team with thousands of end users who couldn't be bothered with security. They are just an expert in their business. They're an expert lawyer, they're an expert marketing person, they're an expert salesperson. They shouldn't be trained and expected to become expert in security, and that sort of creates this lack of balance. And I think now that you have tools to sort of take away the reliance on the end user, we're going to start to see a shift in that balance.
Fantastic. And what about yourselves at Secret Double Octopus? What's next for you guys? Is there anything else you can share with us about the road ahead?
Yeah, I think that we've now launched support for BLE and a Mac, just to create this much more complete user experience. Sort of that it used to be that if you're online or if you're offline, you should have done a slightly different user experience. I'm taking this as an example. Right now, the idea is it's going to be seamless. I don't care if I'm online, if I'm offline, if I'm on an airplane, if I'm sitting at the office, I'm going to have the same level of security, the same level of user experience. And that's an example of areas of focus for us. We're focusing in our roadmap on scalability because we're working with some very large company, and on user experience. Because at the end of the day, users got to love it, and that's the feedback we're getting from our customers. That the first thing they say, the report back is, thank goodness the users really love it. We're happy that it's also safer, and so that's going to continue. So those are the two areas that continue to be top of mind for us: is the scalability, reliability on the one hand, and the seamlessness of the life for the end users.
So there's going to be many people listening all over the world wondering how that user experience will fit into their workplace and their culture. They're probably going to leave this podcast with more questions. So can you remind the listeners of where they can find you guys online? And of course, most importantly, how they can contact a member of your team if they've got any questions?
Absolutely. So please feel free to come visit us. We are at it's www.doubleoctopus.com. And you can find all the information in there. There's a lot of videos showing the user experience and explaining the way we actually achieve a passwordless enterprise, and also a way to get in touch with us. We're there and just go through a demo and talk about how this fits into your environment.
You made so many great points in today's interview. As users, we're all familiar with using Touch ID, with using Face ID, and asking Alexa to unlock things with our voice. These are the things that we trust and use on a daily basis. But very often we go back into the corporate workplace and it feels like we're stepping back in time for 20 years. And like you rightly said as well, the only people that like passwords are not companies, are not cybersecurity experts. It's the hackers themselves, because it's that single point of failure. There were so many great talking points, but more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time during the holidays to come and speak with me today about your story. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much.
Secret Double Octopus helps enterprises struggling to scale their network security shift away from credential-dependent identity and access management solutions, all focusing on this next-gen password-free solution which supports all of their existing use cases. And based on secret sharing algorithms originally developed to protect nuclear launch codes, the app initiates multi-layered authentication processes for users in order to verify or reject the login attempt, payment or transaction. Now, I love discussing Gartner's predictions for this passwordless future and the role that Secret Double Octopus is playing in that with Amit today. And those stories of Reagan and Clinton losing their passcodes is somewhat alarming, isn't it? But hey, Will Secret Double Octopus succeed in killing the password? Something that many have tried and failed in the past. I'm going to throw this one out to you, everybody listening all over the world. Let me know your thoughts by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You can tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, or of course you can pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. Go to podcasts and you can even leave me a virtual voicemail. So today is the first episode of the Heil PR40, so thanks for easing her in gently today, and let's hope it provides us all with another 750 episodes. That's the plan. And in 2019, of course, we should hit the 1,000 episode mark. So it's going to be quite a year, I think, and I'm incredibly excited about bringing you all along for the ride. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you for coming along this ride with me. And I look forward to speaking with you all every day in 2019 about how technology is reshaping industries, and also the occasional random thought or rant from me about technology too. If that sounds like your idea of fun, come and join me here at Tech Blog Writer for another year, and I'll gladly accompany you on your commutes, on your workouts, or just walking your dog or doing the household chores. We already have guests booked in for every day throughout the whole of January, and we've got CES to cover, so things are going to get pretty busy. So as this is the calm before the storm, I'm going to go play a bit of Red Dead Redemption 2 while I've still got time. Say thanks for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.